Huge test for Brock Purdy and what looks like it's going to be a fully healthy 49ers offense against Jacksonville coming up on Sunday. The 49ers have drawn the top three defenses in the NFL this season. Cleveland, they've got the number one defense, far and away the number one defense. The 49ers already lost to them. In fact, that was the only inefficient game that San Francisco's offense has played this season. Baltimore, the Ravens, they've got the number two defense per DVOA. Christmas Day is when the 49ers host the Ravens at Levi's Stadium. And then the number three defense, well, that's what's next on the schedule for the 49ers. Jacksonville, they bring a surging defense in. It is the leader of this Jacksonville team. The offense under Trevor Lawrence and Travis Etienne and Calvin Ridley and Christian Kirk, it's done some good stuff. It's ranked number 13, but this defense is ranked number 3. And what a defining opportunity for this 49ers offense, which should be getting Trent Williams back. He was at practice today, which will be getting Deebo Samuel back. Christian McCaffrey, obviously fully healthy, and everybody should be spry, rested after the bye week. Again, we've seen 8 games from the 49ers so far. 7 of those 8 games featured efficient offensive performances. They weren't all overpowering like the first 5 weeks of the season, but they're efficient, even the losses to Minnesota and Cincinnati. But there was one inefficient offensive performance, and it came against Cleveland. So now the 49ers have another shot at a top 3 defense. Not the number 1 defense, but the number 3 defense here in Jacksonville. So let's talk about it. Brock Purdy against Josh Allen's Jags defense. And then this is 49ers intel. Steve Wilks spoke today. So we'll talk about Steve Wilks' test, and I'm going to share you some of the clips of Steve Wilks from his press conference because we've obviously been talking about the embattled 49ers defensive coordinator a lot over recent days. First thing you need to know about Jacksonville, they've allowed the lowest explosive play percentage in the NFL. That means runs of over 10 yards or throws of over 20 yards. The Jags have also forced the most takeaways in the NFL, 18 takeaways. That leads the league. 11 interceptions is number 2 and is tied with the 49ers. So you got a team that doesn't give up explosives and turns the ball over. Even more takeaways than the Cleveland Browns, who are the most efficient defense in the league. How is Jacksonville getting there? They're running zone on nearly 70% of their snaps. Okay, so let's take a look at what this defense looks like. This is the depth chart. You could look down here. This is Jacksonville's defense. They're led by Josh Allen. It's a 3-4. So Josh Allen is a stand-up defensive end coming off the left side. That means he's working against Trent Williams primarily. Other side is Trayvon Walker, the 2022 draft's number 1 overall pick. Walker's going to be coming off of the right side. He's also very talented, doesn't have 9 sacks like Josh Allen. Structurally, you've got a pair of good inside linebackers in Oluokun and Devin Lloyd. These two guys have combined for 10 pass breakups this year. Where I think that Jacksonville is exceptional is in the discipline of their secondary. We've seen Darius Williams, the former Ram, deliver a very, very good season so far. And there's going to be more Rams parallels as I discuss this moving forward. But the safeties, Andrew Wingard, Rayshon Jenkins, Andre Sisco, who's currently hurt. We'll see what his status is for this game on Sunday. But the safeties have not given up a lot over the top. In fact, with this cover 3 zone, and it's a lot of cover 3, not nearly all cover 3, but a lot of cover 3, 70% of snaps in zone, that's one of the highest rates in the league. I would say that the Jags are a classic bend but don't break defense, and they do it really, really damn well. They're a lot like the Rams of 2021, who ended up winning the Super Bowl, but against whom the 49ers righted the ship in 2021. Remember the 49ers played the Rams coming off of the ugliest game of the season, the loss to Arizona at home? That was in Week 10. Week 10, 2021 season, 49ers beat the Rams 31-10 on Monday Night Football. Well, this is Week 10. 49ers are coming off a 3-game losing streak. They don't have the Rams to get well against. Past 2 seasons, the Rams have been the 49ers get-well team. They don't face them until Week 18, but the 49ers get to play a Jacksonville team who they believe is a lot like that Rams team from 2021. And the 49ers obviously lost to that Rams team in the NFC Championship game, but they also beat that Rams team twice in the regular season when they were healthier. And guess what? The 49ers look relatively healthy now, if not fully healthy right now. How'd they beat those Rams teams? They won with patience. They run the ball 44 times in week 10 of 2021 against the Rams defense that didn't give up a lot of explosive plays, that forced a ton of takeaways. And the reason I draw this Rams parallel is because George Kittle brought it up today. George Kittle said that this 3-4 Jacksonville defense reminds him a lot of those really, really good Rams defenses that the 49ers were able to beat with bully ball. Why is that? Well, the Rams are going to give you, or the Jags in this case, are going to give you the underneath stuff. They're going to punish you if you try to go over the top. If you try to get too aggressive, they're going to make guys look open who aren't actually open, and they're going to force takeaways. 11 picks, 18 takeaways, that leads the NFL. They've given up the lowest percentage of explosive plays. The way that the 49ers beat the Jags, beat the Rams, I'm slipping here, but as you can see, there's some interchangeable ideas. The way that they beat the Rams in 2021 is that they pounded the football over and over and over again into the Rams. 44 carries, 3.5 per carry. What it required, though, was really good quarterback play from Jimmy Garoppolo, because you can't just call 44 runs. You have to put yourself into position to run 44 times. Your defense has to do some work to make sure the game is close so you don't fall behind. So the 49ers defense obviously has to get better, but we're going to deal with that in a different video. It's a team sport, though, so they have a part in this. But the quarterback has to deliver on 3rd and 4th downs. And if you remember against the Rams in 2021 Week 10, it was a big Deebo Samuel game, so it's a good thing the 49ers are getting him back here in Week 10. But the 49ers converted so many 3rd downs. They were 8 of 13 at one point. Really good percentage. They even went for it on a 4th and 6, and Garoppolo hit Deebo Samuel for the touchdown. Remember that crossing pattern where he was able to fit the ball in right in between the two crisscrossing defensive backs? I think he was 7 of 9 for like 128 yards on 3rd and 4th downs in that game. The QB has to put together the glue of the performance and move the chains on the money downs in a patient manner so that the run game has a chance to take hold and bruise Jacksonville 40 times. 49ers only averaged 3.5 per carry against the Rams when they turned it around in Week 10 of 2021. But 3.5 per carry over 44 carries will do a lot of damage. It was paper cut, and ultimately they hit the Rams with the bigger play to Deebo Samuel on that 4th and 6 downfield. So the key for Brock Purdy is going to be patience. He's thrown a couple picks here as of late, right? 4 to be exact over the course of the past 2 games. All 4 of those have come down the stretch of those games in the second half. So the 49ers want to establish a lead in this game. That's another way that they beat the Rams in the get-well games. 18-play, 93-yard drive to open the game. They want to get ahead. They want to use that to allow their defense to get on its toes and get after Trevor Lawrence. But most importantly, they want to use that buffer on offense so they can play downhill with comfort, with that run game as part of the balanced attack that helps expose this Jacksonville defense. Because again, Josh Allen is a really good player with 9 sacks. It's important that you don't have him detonating the game if you're the 49ers, and that's why Trent Williams' potential presence, he was back out at practice today, was really big. It's going to be a test on the other side for Colton McKivitz, but perhaps the 49ers can shade some help over toward Trayvon Walker. It's going to be a big Christian McCaffrey, George Kittle opportunity. Why? Well, because we see a team that is really balanced along the back end in Jacksonville, but they run a ton of zone. And if you run a ton of zone, especially if you're running cover 3, the seams are going to be open. George Kittle to the seams could be a thing in this football game. You know what certainly will be a thing in this football game is Christian McCaffrey on shorter passes. Christian McCaffrey in the soft zone, sitting down, finding that spot in Jacksonville defense, and pairing with patience from Brock Purdy to be able to gain yards, even if they don't come in massive chunks on those shorter throws. If there's one weakness for Jacksonville, it's the yards after the catch they've allowed because of the soft spots in the zone. Again, zone coverage on nearly 70% of the snaps. It takes a good quarterback to set up yak consistently against this kind of defense. So when Purdy is hitting somebody like George Kittle, when he's hitting somebody like Christian McCaffrey, it can't just be a little hitch route where the throw comes a little bit late and either Kittle or McCaffrey or whoever the receiver is, Deebo Samuel's obviously somebody to name as well, has to just sit down and take the tackle and take the hit. Throws for Brock Purdy have to fit into open zones and have to lead receivers into open zones so that the 49ers pick up their yards after the catch. Remember, if we're going to draw this Rams parallel, if this defense looks a lot like that because it's a top 3 defense in the league for Jacksonville, the 49ers had to go 18 plays. That's a long drive to open the game against the Rams in 2021. 18 plays, 93 yards. The probability of something going wrong over that long of a drive, whether it be a devastating holding penalty, some kind of personal foul, a giveaway, just a drop that derails the drive, the odds of something going wrong are fairly high because you have to run 18 plays. If you toss in an explosive or two and it's only a 6-play drive, all of a sudden the probability of something going wrong is not nearly as high. So the 49ers want to be as explosive as possible without forcing the issue into the hands of Jacksonville because the Jags have the most takeaways in the National Football League if you try to press it too aggressively. That's where Brock Purdy's patience is going to have to come in this game. That's where Trent Williams' return is so instrumental in this game. But I do encourage you to think of the 49ers turnaround in 2021 against the Rams and apply it to this one, because a lot of the talk for the 49ers has been surrounding how similar this Jacksonville defense looks to the 2021 Rams defense that the 49ers methodically beat with paper cuts, with runs, et cetera, et cetera. You know, back to this, I talk about Darius Williams. He was on that Rams team, the cornerback for this Jacksonville team. He's the best corner on this Jacksonville team. I think there might be a hole on the other side when you looked at the 49ers going against the opposite corner. So they may not throw Darius Williams' side nearly as much as when they go the other side, where Tyson Campbell is dealing with injury issues. You have Monteric Brown backing him up. And then obviously you have Trey Herndon, who's a good slot cornerback for Jacksonville. In general, though, it's a defense without a gaping weakness. This is a defense that's been top 5 against both the run and the pass. And it's going to necessitate the 49ers being balanced. It's going to necessitate them chopping wood. If it's an 18-play drive that you need because they're giving you the underneath stuff and you just have to methodically, step by step, move your way down the field, that's fine. Do it. Roll up your sleeves. Just keep on chopping wood if you're the 49ers. Chop, chop, chop. Problem is you can't cut your finger off. You can't make that error that's going to devastate and derail an 18-play drive. That's where Brock Purdy is going to have to be patient. That's where he's going to have to fix some of the errors that he made last week. And that's where a lead would really help for the 49ers. You get out in front, because I'll tell you one thing, Brock Purdy hasn't made a significant error this season when his team has been ahead. The interceptions came when he's trying to fight back, and the 49ers don't have that run game. This is a run-based offense, so allow it to be run-based by giving these guys a lead. That's the scouting report for 49ers against Jacksonville. I promise this is a 49ers intel as well, because Steve Wilks did speak today. Let's take a listen to the 49ers defensive coordinator.
I mean, guys, to me, I think, just very candid, I think we're making a bigger deal out of it than it needs to be honest. But I just want to be able to communicate with the guys a little bit more during the game. You know, certain things that I'm seeing, I'd rather be able to talk to them directly than, to communicate with coaches. I think our coaches do a great job, number one, throughout the week, but also in-game adjustments. That's one of the things I've really, pride ourselves on, and how we communicate as a staff and making the right things throughout the game. So it's just really, with me, just wanting to be able to communicate with those guys a little bit more. I can honestly say I'm sort of built for this, not in an arrogant way, but I've always believed is certain, it's two things. It's what you hear and what you listen to, So I hear a lot of the outside noise. I don't listen to it, good or bad, As you mentioned, I've been doing this for a while, and I understand the emotions of this game and what we play at this level. I try not to be emotional, We're 5-3. The standard is so high here, all right? And we lost 3 in a row that everybody feel like the ceiling is collapsing on us. we're in a good position. We need to turn it around. So we got a lot of football ahead of us. We want to start progressing, get better in November, and start playing our best in December. So I've seen this. I've been around this. I can take it. I'm the new guy in. It is what it is. I have confidence in myself. Most importantly, I have confidence in those players and the coaches that we're together, and we're going to come through this.
That was 49ers defensive coordinator Steve Wilks. This right here is where the 49ers are relative to the rest of the league. So context is that this defense has slipped to an aggregate of around a mediocre score. 49ers are a little bit above the average red line, but the offense is elite for the 49ers. Brock Purdy, top 3 in QBR, 49ers offense, efficiency-wise right there with Buffalo and Miami. So the 49ers need the defense to get a little bit better. This week, they face a Jacksonville team who's right here in the middle. So the 49ers are a tier 1 team. You got tier 2, tier 3 against a tier 3 Jacksonville team. That's why the 49ers are favored. Jacksonville, as you can see, below average offensively, according to EPA per play. DVOA has them slightly better. DVOA, when you adjust for opponents, it's a little bit further to the right. But defensively, they've been better than the 49ers. They've been better than all but Baltimore and Cleveland. Cleveland way up here, Baltimore over here. So that is what we're looking at when the 49ers move forward. So Steve Wilks did speak. That was interesting to me because, he verified, I talked about this so much yesterday. He verified that he wants to communicate better. We hypothesized, theorized, whatever word you want to use. I think it's obvious that some of this has been an issue for the 49ers. The communication hasn't been quite as good as they've wanted to be. So Steve Wilks, he's down on the field. He thinks he's going to be able to communicate a little bit better. He thinks he's going to be able to adjust a little bit better. Is it all window dressing? Perhaps. But this 49ers defense, and when Steve Wilks says, I think you guys are making a bigger deal out of it than it is, maybe we are making a bigger deal out of it. But what is actually a big deal is that the 49ers have been so terrible for 2 straight games defensively. So they've obviously got to turn it around, and it was a big enough deal for Kyle Shanahan to sit down with Steve Wilks and say, hey, maybe we should try you out down on the field, or at least a big enough deal for Steve Wilks to pitch the idea to Kyle Shanahan. Not really clear which way that conversation went, but they did sit down one-on-one over the course of the bye week, and they came to the conclusion that they needed to move Steve Wilks down to the field. So the question now is, how do the 49ers respond to these changes? Because it is a long NFL season. You heard Steve Wilks saying that he wants the defense to improve in November so that it can be playing its best football by December. In each of the past 2 seasons, the 49ers have done that, I think, in all phases of the game. That's why they've made runs to the NFC Championship. Now they're sitting in a better position relative to where they were in each of the past 2 seasons record-wise, but they have to prove on the field that they can round into form and peak at the right time, just like they did in 2021 and 2022. And if the 49ers can do that, well, the head start they have this year, the 5-3 record versus 3-5 in 21 and 3-4 in 2022, could have a big payoff for them when it comes to securing the 1 seed. The analytical models don't really believe in the 49ers' ability to catch Philadelphia, who's 8-1 for the 1 seed. The 49ers are 5-3. 49ers are given about a 10% chance to win out with that 1 seed. Philly, they're closer to 70%. But the 49ers do have a game in Philly in early December that obviously looks like almost a must win if you're thinking about ways they can catch the Eagles. And the 49ers also have a chance to go on a run like they did in seasons past, while Philly's got a really tough schedule right now. So don't rule anything out. The 49ers obviously did shoot themselves in the foot by losing 3-0 ahead of the bye. But I do think that Steve Wilks has some great points. Some perspective is needed. We've tried to keep that perspective throughout, and that was the gist of the comments from Wilks. So thanks to Mike for cutting that up, getting that ready for us, and why don't we move to 49ers Q&A. How's that extremely boring game going? Bears up 16-13, Mike says. Maybe Mike can... maybe I could also put the game on myself here. Yeah, why don't I put the game on in case there's an exciting finish? We'll uh we'll have it here. I could put it up on the monitor and we can go through this together. I mean, this was one that I absolutely was not watching the end of. I'd rather just go live, talk to everybody here. So I need to get back to live on this broadcast. I'm way behind. Here we are. 144 left, 16-13. Am I at the right spot in this game? Mike, let me know. I see Bryce Young with the football. Bryce Young looks small on an NFL field, by the way. I think it's an issue. He has not been playing well. 3rd and 10, trying to drive Carolina. Oh, he should have thrown a pick. It was dropped. Didn't see the underneath right linebacker. I saw Chicago already. I've been watching this game today for a grand total of about 4 plays, and I've seen 2 dropped picks from Chicago on throws from Bryce Young. So now it's gonna be 4th and 10. You guys might be a few seconds ahead of me because I just logged in on Amazon to watch this. But I'm gonna see this 4th and 10 play, and this might be it for Carolina against the home team, Chicago. Looks like, oh, they're gonna kick the field goal. Okay, well, a 59-yarder. It's up, and it's of course, it's no good. It's short. That's what you get for trying to make a 59-yarder at night in Chicago. So with 2 timeouts, that should essentially do it in this football game. So there we go. The worst Thursday night game of the year is going to go the Bears' direction. Just have to bleed out the rest of this clock without error. Bryce Young, not good. I mean, they used the top pick on this guy, and I think there was a defensive touchdown in there, right? So managed 6 points in this football game against the Chicago team that had Montez Sweat. I saw him doing some stuff, nice stuff, pass rushing when some of the highlights went through. Thankfully, next week's game on Thursday night is going to be a hell of a lot better. Baltimore against Cincinnati. Lamar Jackson against Joe Burrow. Probably hit up the Baltimore bar to go check that out. I don't know where the Cincinnati bar in San Francisco is, but I'll have to research that for Thursday night. All right, 49ers Q&A. Let's do it. Yeah, they traded up too. Bryce Young, I mean, at some level, size is important to the quarterback position. I know Brock Purdy doesn't have plus height, but he's got size. He's got the thickness, which I think is really important because he's strong enough in his base to be able to withstand a lot of that. There's just a lot of chaos in an NFL pocket, and Brock Purdy, I think, withstands it with some true strength, low to the ground, and then he uses that base to accelerate. He's got the elite 10-yard burst, so I think a lot of people figured that size would be an issue for Brock Purdy, but he's degrees bigger and stronger than somebody like Bryce Young, and I think that's a big deal. Next week, it's going to be Action Jackson against Joe Cool. What a great matchup. 49ers obviously play both of these guys. They struggled against Joe Burrow, Lamar Jackson coming up on Christmas. Do I believe that Wilks will step it up the second half of the season? Well, it's going to take a team effort. It's not just Wilks. The whole defense has to. Some of the communication issues, which I think have prompted Wilks to head down from the booth to the field, 49ers have to be better aligned. 49ers have to then set better edges against the run. 49ers have to tackle better than they have over their past 3 games. There's a lot that the 49ers must fix, but I do think is a domino effect component to the dynamic behind this, and that's going to help them right the ship once they get a couple of these things right. I think a lot of the ingredients toward getting it right have been found in the rest that the bye week has provided. All right, so we got a 3rd and 7 here. Chicago's going to obviously run. Well, they're throwing. And they picked up the first down. Oh, my goodness. They risked that being incomplete and getting the ball back to Carolina. Wow. Okay. Well, the Bears decided to say fortune favors the bold. And with their 4th string quarterback, Bajent, they throw and they connect on 3rd down. That was risky. I didn't see that coming, but it worked for Chicago. So congratulations to them. The Bears moved to 3-7. Carolina is going to drop to 1-8. I hope that we never have to see a game like that again in prime time. That was terrible. Again, next week, Bengals, Ravens should make up for it. The week after that, 49ers, Seahawks, Thanksgiving night in prime time. So next couple of weeks should make up for it. Game is over. Everybody, thanks for playing. They just showed Justin Fields, who also hasn't been good, and I'm ready for some more questions. Ryan asked, I think that Wilks will actually play cover 3, how it's supposed to be played, and not have the corners 9 yards off the ball? So the way that the cover 3 man works is, yes, it is zone coverage, but you play press man with your corners on the outside to try to take away that on the outside. You're going to probably give up some openings elsewhere, including the seams, but with a really good pass rush, good personnel up front, you figure you could snuff most of that out before the quarterback can throw. I do suspect that the 49ers will go back to the basics of what got them here, which isn't necessarily all cover 3, but I do suspect we will see a return to the basics, which follows along with what Richard Sherman was talking about. He wants more zone. Richard Sherman does on first and second downs. More zone than Steve Wilks has been calling. And I don't know what the cover 3 ratio is going to be, if it's going to be 80% or if it's going to be a different kind of zone. A lot of that is dependent on what happens out on the actual field. And I mean, you look at the personnel on the other side, there might be times when you really want to go to man because you do feel that somebody like Isaiah Oliver does match up really well with a tight end and Evan Ingram, who lines up not as an inline tight end, who lines up in the slot or out wide. So it's a game-by-game thing. We can't prescribe one fix for everything. But in general, the 49ers want Wilks down on the field, and Wilks says he wants to be down on the field so he can get a better feel of what they're going to run at any given time based on direct face-to-face communication with the personnel out on the field. Predict the final score. I always do that on Saturday, so stay tuned for the prediction. All right, everybody, thanks for joining. I don't see many questions tonight. I can't answer prediction questions until the actual prediction comes out. So, Steve Wilks spoke today. That was big. 49ers and the team tiers here. It's going to be 49ers in tier 1 against the tier 3 Jacksonville team. I went through a lot of the keys to this football game. And, I really do think that this is a big challenge for the 49ers offense because you have a Jacksonville defense that's allowed the fewest explosive plays in the NFL. They forced the most takeaways in the NFL. They've run a lot of zone. Brock Purdy is going to have to be really patient. It's a bend but don't break defense that's really good at it. Seattle back in the Legion of Boom days was a bend but don't break defense that was really good at it. The 49ers in a lot of ways in 2019, 2021, 2022 have been a bend but don't break defense really good at it. You force an opponent to chip away, chop wood, but then you cut out their legs underneath them once they're about to get that final chop of wood through. So you give yourself a lot of chances at creating a game-changing takeaway or a game-changing sack, game-changing play. And to combat that, the 49ers are going to have to be really disciplined on the offensive side of the football. All right. Hopefully I gave you something to watch that was better than that garbage Thursday night game. This has been your 49ers intel, your look at Brock Purdy against Josh Allen's Jags defense, and a little discussion of Steve Wilks. Everybody like the video, sub to the channel. We'll talk to you very soon.